All right, Mike McGroarty from freeplants.com or mikesbackyardnursery.com. I want to show you today, we're going to talk a little bit about dividing daylilies. And a lot of people have daylilies in their landscape and they get to be great big. And the typical way to divide them is to simply dig up that whole clump and then just set it on the ground and take the spade and cut it in like 4 pieces and replant a clump this big. But as far as the nursery business is concerned, you know, when we divide things, we're looking for more division. So a lot of times we will tear something up and end up with more pieces. Now basically, I've just completely shaken the soil out of that. And this daylily has 3 fans in it that I can easily divide. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to plant these out back. This is mid-October. So I'm going to cut the top back like that, and then I'm actually going to cut the roots a little bit so it's manageable, and that's what I'm going to end up with, a fan that looks like that, and we're going to plant that out in the field. So again, same thing, we're going to give the top a little bit of a haircut. Same thing, another little fan like that. Now what I'm going to do with these things, I'm going to put them in the field, and then next year I'm going to dig them up and divide them again, because I'm trying to get, you know, several hundred of this particular variety. This one is kind of a deep red one. I think it's called raspberry candy, and so I'd like to reproduce this in quantity. So I'm going to put this in the field next year. It's going to take off, and anytime next summer after this blooms, I can actually dig it up and divide it again during the growing season. Now this may not bloom next year because I've you know, done such a severe division on it, but again, sometime late next year or in the fall, I can divide these again, which is exactly what I'll do. Again, I'm going to kind of break this up. You can see it's kind of root bound. This one's a little tighter than the previous one. But my goal when I do this is to end up with as many plants as I can get. And you can see I'm not real gentle with them, but they are very, very resilient and they won't mind. Now, just like that, a fan that I'm going to plant out in the field. And I think I got 2 more in here. Cut the top off. I pull the roots up into a ponytail, and then pretty much anything below my hand I'm going to cut off, because I don't want to put the roots in a hole and have them all bunched up. So this type of root pruning is actually going to stimulate more root growth. So basically, that's how we divide daylilies. Now I'm going to take you out in the field and I want to show you some of the ones that we divide. It's a little different variety. And those divisions were actually smaller, but they're still pretty good. So I guess what I'm trying to show you is that you can take a small plant or even a big plant and divide it into very, very small pieces. Let's go take a look at what we have planted out. Now with these daylilies, once you divide them or cut them up or whatever you do, it's a good idea to let them set out in the air and air dry a little bit for a few days. Because what happens, you have a wound on here, and if you immediately bury that into the ground, that's just inviting for this crown to rot or insects or disease to get in there. And the professional growers set these things out in the sun and let them air dry and let that callus over and get a little bit hard for several days before they replant them. So when they dig these things in the fall, they'll take them, divide them up like that, they'll throw them in a bin that's, you know, I don't know, 3 feet by 3 feet. They'll have thousands of them in there, and they leave them in a barn just like that all winter long at a relatively cool temperature, probably, you know, around 40 degrees. So it's not going to hurt them a bit to actually lay out and air dry. It's actually kind of therapeutic for the plant, if you will. So anyway, I just want to toss that in there. So you don't want to just divide them and stick them right back in the ground. You can. I've done it plenty of times, but there's some advantages to letting them dry first. All right, now these are some of the daylilies that we divided probably about a week or a week and a half ago. We planted them in this bed. You can see we got them probably about 6 or 8 inches apart. and these will stay here until at least July, August of next summer, and then we may dig them up and divide them then, or if not, we'll dig them up and divide them in the fall. And some of them will probably go into containers and we'll sell them from there. Others will get divided and planted back in the field, so we always have a crop coming on. So basically that's all we do. We divide them, plant them out here, do our best to keep the weeds out of them, and once they kind of fill in themselves, then they'll shade the soil, and weeding will be a much easier task. So weeds don't grow well without sunlight. So that's one of the reasons we put them as close as we do. The other is space. We're trying to do as much as we can in a small space. So I'm Mike McGroarty from freeplants.com.